All right, now joining the show, we have on All-American wrestler from Wisconsin, Trent Hillger. Trent, what's going on, man?
Not much. How about you?
Not too much, just living the dream, hosting a podcast. I love it, man.
That's awesome. Glad to be here.
So you now the big question, are you coming back to Wisconsin next year, or are you done with college wrestling?
So I have 2 more years of eligibility, actually. So for one more year at least, I'll be wrestling in Wisconsin.
All right, so
Planning on two.
now with the NIL being passed, the bill, are you going to be able to try to cash in on the Thor nickname?
Oh yeah, that's that's gonna be a big plan of mine. I've already been talking to a few different apparel companies and gonna try working on like a new shoe or some shoe companies that try getting like a Thor nickname and trying to kind of attach that to like a shoe or apparel.
Now, what's your ideal like shirt logo? Is it you like holding like the hammer in a singlet? Is what's the with like definitely with the hair is the
Oh yeah.
silhouette. What's the ideal logo and then maybe like the ideal shoe that you'd want?
Uh, The ideal shoe would be something like Rudis. Rudis would be a sweet company to
Okay.
have. Kind of like a mixture of like an aggressor,
Okay.
aggressor and like a kale. That's kind of like what I grew up using.
Mhm.
Like kind of like a thicker shoe, but like has like that that's still like light, you know. But for apparel, like a silhouette. When I did the Thor slam as my celebration for after
Yep.
one of my matches, that'd be sick. Like have that silhouette and have like some like lightning streaks down in the back and
Pretty cool, yeah.
yeah, so it'd be a pretty dope shirt. I have a few ideas.
That's awesome. I love seeing that. Now, with the bill being passed, is that has that been something you've kind of, especially you've got like the iconic Thor nickname. Is that something you've kind of always thought about, maybe even before, like with like, your freshman year when you got to college? Like, has that kind of been formulating for you?
I mean, it's been something I've been like hoping it happened for a while. I didn't expect it to happen since it's
Hmm.
been an issue and like it
Yeah.
hasn't happened for so long. But once I started talking about it, like, oh shoot, like I can like really like cash in on this. Like I can there's a lot of opportunities for me here to make some money. So I was excited and I once I started to hear like they're thinking about passing it, that's when I started like considering like, oh, like what could I do here? What could I do there? And like what like companies I could try like show interest in.
Yep. That's awesome. So another big thing, you wrestled in Beat the Streets
Yeah.
against Gable. So you're like everybody. If you're a wrestling fan, you know the lore of Gable Stevenson.
Yeah.
He's a dominant wrestler. He's a freak athlete. So you're in the Big Ten with him also. So you wrestled him prior. Going into a match like Beat the Streets, where it's publicized, the whole wrestling community, it's eyes on that. What was your mindset kind of heading into that match?
Uh, I mean, when they first offered to me, I was gonna take it no matter who I was wrestling. It's just
Yep.
like you were saying, it's one of those gigantic matches that
Oh
everyone
yeah.
watches. So I'm not gonna pass up on that opportunity. I don't care who I'm wrestling. Going into the match, I mean, obviously I've wrestled him like 4 or 5 times, so like I knew a little bit. I haven't wrestled in freestyle a whole lot, and I knew that's like where that was his style. That's where he was best
Yep.
was freestyle, and I mean, my game plan going in was to try slowing him down as much as possible. It didn't work, but I mean, at least he kind of ran his way through the entire U.S. So maybe feel a little less bad about that. But he no, he's one of those guys like he's obviously a real good wrestler, and there's a lot. You have to wrestle perfect to have a chance to beat him,
Yep.
type of thing. So I just didn't have my game plan didn't work, and I mean I hope he sticks around because I want to have more opportunities to wrestle with him because you're gonna have to beat the best to be the best. So I
Yeah.
hope he sticks around for at least another season or two.
I mean, it looks like I think now with the bill being passed, because he, I think, just signed with like a delivery company out in Minnesota, kind of like a Grubhub, something
Mhm.
like that. So I think it looks now more and more like he'll stick around. So you will have that opportunity to wrestle him a few more times and get the shot. I mean, somebody's got to beat him eventually. That's the mindset I think, and there's always that guy that's gonna beat him. So I mean, you could be that guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I've had a few relatively close matches with him and prior, and so I'm hoping I can kind of like put a match or two together and hopefully at the right time. So
Yep.
yep.
Outside of Gable, who would you in like whole country college wrestling? Who would you say has been the toughest guy for you to score on, and then toughest guy to defend against outside of Gable?
Toughest guy to defend against, I would say, is Paris for
Okay.
sure. He just his attack rate is just insane,
Yep.
and like he's gonna shoot 10, 15 times a period, and like you're not used to that heavyweight. And even like as athletic as heavyweight has gotten over the last
Mhm.
few years, you're still not used to having to defend 15 shots.
No.
And his attacks have improved so much since like even the first time I wrestled him, that he's just getting better. He's adding more attacks, and each attack's getting better that he uses every single time I wrestle him. So it's just more of the volume
Mhm.
of defense you have to do against him, because you're starting to panic. It's like I'm just gonna hit for stalling. You start
Yep.
getting hit for stalling, you're like running around, you're like he's like constantly on your legs. And I would say the toughest guy to score on, it'd be between Cassiope or Stencil. I'd probably give it to Stencil purely
Okay.
off of how flexible he is. Like Cassiope's like head hand defense, I'd give is way better in my opinion. But once you get to Stencil's legs, he can go full splits, and it's
Yep.
like it's another thing you're not used to a heavyweight. It's like almost impossible to score on him once you get to a leg, and so it just becomes real annoying to try taking him down and finishing. And he's just gigantic. He's a massive guy, so trying to like score on top or even get away from him is a tall task.
It is pretty scary with the way heavyweights going, where the heavyweights nowadays are now as athletic as 57 pounders. Like even a guy like Adam Kuhn was, for his size, was super athletic at Michigan. So it is crazy to see how much it's developed. It's gone from guys that are winning matches 1-0 just by getting an escape or stalls and stuff like that to now guys are actually going to be on the attack. They're actually shooting low singles, actually working to get your legs. And how have you kind of developed to something like that where now you're dealing with a whole new breed of human out there?
Uh, so I've kind of been a lighter guy my whole life.
Mhm.
Like in sixth grade, I wrestled at like 80 pounds, and I just kind of like went up to like 100, then 140, and then 170, then 215, then heavyweight, and I kind of stuck at heavyweight. So I wrestled that like little guy style for however long. I just got bigger, and like I kind of like think of it like, I mean, even like a Gable was like that, a Paris was like that, a
Mhm.
Kirklevitt's like that, and even like Cassiope wasn't like a little guy like that, but he's athletic for his size.
Yep.
So like, you have like all these guys that are just so athletic for their size, or like they've been wrestling like a small guy their entire life. They're just 250 pounds now.
Yep.
Uh, so I've kind of been like used to that style for me personally, wrestling like that for a while. But obviously in high school, you're not going to see that a whole lot.
No.
And now going to college, and every single match is a guy that could be a Division I football player. And
Yeah.
it's just kind of like it's fun. It makes it fun. It makes it enjoyable, and it's good for heavyweight, because for a long time people would leave the match when heavyweight came up, and now people
Mhm.
are going to matches to watch the heavyweights just because
Right.
they're these 250-pound guys that are moving just as fast as, like you said, the 157s, and shooting as much if not more. Because I mean, you get these guys like I said, a Paris that he might have had the highest attack rate in the NCAA, and he was
Yep.
250 pounds. So it's just fun, honestly. Like having to adjust to it wasn't like a big issue, because being athletic myself and like having to wrestle athletes all the time, you just kind of like naturally get used to these fast guys, and you have to train fast like you are 157. But it makes the matches fun. It's high paced. People like look forward to these matches. I look forward to wrestling the faster guys. It just makes it like more high paced, and that's the style I want to wrestle.
So coming out of Lake Fenton in Michigan, what did your recruitment look like? Was a Central Michigan or a Michigan or even an Eastern Michigan where like the home state schools kind of hot on you, or did you have to like look outside of it? What did your whole recruitment process look like?
So it was it was a big mixture of football and wrestling.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the toughest part, honestly. And honest with wrestling, Michigan was the only one that contacted me in state,
Oh
which
wow.
which I found a little offensive,
Yeah.
honestly. But uh so Michigan was the only one that contacted me for football. All of them contacted me: Eastern Michigan, Michigan State, Central. They all like made some sort of contact towards
Mhm.
me. But like Michigan offered me a walk on, and that was about it. So it was like when I wanted to go to Michigan, I was a huge Michigan fan growing up, and
Mhm.
I was like, I stuck with them through the process a lot, because I was like, I really want to go here. I want to be a
Right.
Wolverine like
You
my
wanted to
entire
make it
life.
work no matter what.
Yeah, and then like I was like, I'm worth more than a walk on. So I was like, I have to move on. Like I have to like check out somewhere else. And I was basically dead set on going to Cornell for wrestling. Like I was looking at some football schools like in Iowa, Iowa State, like Missouri,
Now, were those going to
Michigan.
be full scholarships for football, or were those
Yeah.
for walk on? Okay.
But yeah. So and then like Cornell for wrestling was like basically the only one. Like I was considering Iowa State, but it was like Cornell was by far number one. And I was like probably a few days, honestly, like maybe a week or two away from like committing, like finalizing, like, hey, I'm gonna go to Cornell. And then Wisconsin wrestling called, and I was already talking to Wisconsin football a little bit, and they're like, hey, like we're gonna come to like give you a house visit, and like just come check us out, like give us a chance. And I was like, I want to wrestle in the Big Ten, like that'd be sweet. And that was like kind of like
Yeah.
my goal. And so I was like, okay, I'll give him a shot, whatever. I was like, I didn't take it like too serious because I was so like committed to Cornell.
Hmm.
And once they left the house, like I looked at like my parents, like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to take a few more visits. So uh, we ended up taking visits out there, and I decided that it would be between Wisconsin. I didn't know if it was Wisconsin football or Wisconsin wrestling. I just
Okay.
loved the campus. It was incredible. The atmosphere, the both coaching staffs. It was just like I loved everything about Wisconsin. And at the end of the day, I decided I wanted to wrestle, and that's how I ended up there.
Nice. That's now I'm a big recruiting fan. I love like the stories. Did you have any outside of like you were given like walk-ons? Did you ever have a real bad encounter with a coach or a team? Like if you don't want to name names, don't do it. But did you have really any? I call them like recruitment horror stories where a coach was an absolute dick to you, or like couldn't like just wouldn't give you the time of day on a visit, something like that.
I'll tell two. These are the two that stick out. I tell other people. I won't give out names.
Okay.
I like the guys. I like their guys. They're good guys.
Yep.
Just bad moments. So one of them, it was I was being recruited by them, and whatever was talking to him, talking to the assistant coach, he's kind of guy recruiting me, and there was a guy that was from my state that I knew I was going to wrestle like earlier that year that committed there for a full
Mhm.
ride, and like I was talking to coaches, they offered me a walk on, and I was like, well, what if I beat this guy that
Yep.
is committed here? I was like, what if I beat him? They said, you're not going to beat him. And then told me I'm not going to beat him. I go on and beat him twice the next year, and they stopped calling me after that.
That's awesome.
And then
That's awesome.
the other one, it was my first phone call with them. I was on a ride. I was driving back home from one of my practices a couple hours away, and he called at the beginning, and at the end he was like, so you committed? And I was like, I like haven't taken a visit, you haven't offered any money, like you haven't like
Right.
I needed like all these other things. He's like, well, if you don't commit now, I'm done talking to you.
Jesus
So
Christ.
I was like, all right, I guess we're done talking. He's like, and then that was about it. So
I had a kid on from I'm from Connecticut. I had a kid on from a couple high schools over going to Quinnipiac to play basketball. He had a similar one, he said, with VMI, where the coach like was on the phone with him, never took a visit. They throw him the offer. They're like, well, we need you to commit over the phone now. But also don't tell anybody you got this offer yet. Like, don't put it on social media. And I'm like, that's the oddest thing, like that you don't want an offer promoted and you want the kid with no visit and no like you haven't seen the school or really know the coaches. That's first experience to commit right away. That's crazy.
yeah, some coaches like try bullying the kids into like
Mhm.
committing early and stuff like that. So you see so many transfers now,
Yeah.
and so many decommitments because they're like, oh shoot, like maybe I should like pay more attention to like these other schools, and like I just like don't want to commit to the first thing I see.
Yep. Yep. So for football, what were you going to be, an offensive lineman, defensive lineman? What was the plan?
Actually, I was running back and linebacker.
What?
Yeah, I ran a 4.640 in high school. So
Jeez, man.
yeah, so I was for Wisconsin, it was like fullback or linebacker. They're like seeing when I got here, like where I fit in a little bit more.
And you would have
Like
been
I
used as a fullback in that offense. Like anywhere in the Big Ten, you would have been used as a fullback. Like
that's
it's
where I'm like
ground
most
and
of the Big
pound.
Ten. Like Michigan was fullback as well. Like
Yep.
Iowa was defensive end slash linebacker.
Mhm.
Uh, then like there's some of like the smaller, so Air Force was like running back.
Okay.
So like there was like it was between like running back, fullback, and then like linebacker, defensive end. Just kind of depending like what the school wanted. Like Missouri, like 4.6 wasn't fast enough to be like a running back, and they don't really use fullback, so it'd be like a
Mhm.
linebacker there. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of like depending on what the school's needs were.
Now, what as a linebacker, what because fullback is very narrow. As a linebacker, what who would you say you kind of played the most like when you were coming out? What was your style of play? Were you a like fill the hole right away, or were you able to track the field? What like a player that you would compare yourself to?
Oh, I was able to kind of play everywhere. I was very fast for my position, and I was like long, so I could like play sideline to sideline. I don't know, like there's just so many like I'd say probably like closest like a Bobby Wagner type of like player. Obviously not that skill level, but
Yeah,
like that
no,
like
like
type
where
of
you can
player.
just
Like
cover every inch of the field, like a Wagner, like a Fred Warner now, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, like cover like every single inch of the field. Like the league I was in didn't like pass a whole lot, but like I had 3 pick sixes my senior year.
Jeez.
So I was able to play in pass coverage, but like the teams we played against didn't pass a whole lot. So like I was more utilized and like being able to like work inside out and like be able to catch guys on the sidelines from the inside
Yeah.
linebacker position. So that was kind of like probably like my biggest like asset onto the team that could like play from the hash to the sidelines pretty easily.
Now, I'm also were you a big gear guy in high school too with football, or were you just like taped wrists, no gloves, no nothing? Like, what did your gear situation look like as a football player?
I didn't wear a ton of gear. Like I use socks have always been like my big thing. Like so I'd wear like really long socks and like for the longest time I wore like 3 socks. And it was like tiered like
Oh,
really long, then like half calf, and then like the Nike Elites were like the last
yeah.
ones. So it helped one, it helped with like ankle support, kept my feet warm, and then like it
Mhm.
just kind of like looked cool. And I played so my junior year I played quarterback actually. So like
Yeah.
I didn't rock any gloves or anything there, and I had like my obviously my wristbands and like my like towel and like my hand warmer and stuff like that. But like my senior year when I was running back, I wore gloves for a few games just because like I would go out and catch a pass, and like
Mhm.
at linebacker I'd use it too. So it's just like I wasn't like a huge gear guy, but like
Yeah.
socks were my big things. I'd wear gloves if I needed to.
All right, I like that. So, you graduate high school. Wisconsin's the place for you for wrestling. When you first get in the wrestling room, what was the biggest difference for you, like in practice? Not even competition, in practice from high school to uh, like a high level Division 1 program.
Just the like intensity. Like I know that's probably a pretty basic question or basic answer, but like I used to be able to show up to practice basically half asleep and beat the crap out of anybody I wanted.
Yeah.
And I could be there 100% feeling great and I would get teched in all the matches. And it's just like, and these weren't like super high level wrestlers I'm getting whooped by, but I'm like this like number one senior recruit at heavyweight coming in. I'm like really cocky, like confident, like,
Mhm.
hey, like I'm like this, I'm gonna be like the next big guy here. And then I'm
Yeah.
getting whooped every day in practice for the next 5 months. And like I'd say like wrestling wise, like transitions from all like a setup to a shot to a turn were like big things, like just constantly wrestling were like the biggest things. I was like so used to like hitting one move and it working. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Mhm.
I wasn't used to having to like hit 2 or 3 moves in a row, 4 or 5 moves in a row in order for something to work. And like so that's really the intensity like would come in like they like these other guys, these older guys have been there for a while, didn't stop moving ever. And I wasn't used to that. And that was like probably the biggest adjustment for me that like, hey, like it's not gonna work in one move almost ever.
Right.
And like you're gonna have to like get used to like working for it's gonna be like every point's gonna be a battle for you. And so just like every point, like make sure you like go as hard as you can to get that 1 point. And just like that's how it's gonna be the entire 7 minutes.
So now mentally, how did you kind of deal with, like you said, you come in, you're the big dog, the number 1 heavyweight recruit. Like you said, you think you're going to be the next big guy at Wisconsin. Mentally, how did you deal with going in the room and kind of getting beat up every day? Like, how did that affect your mental, and then how'd you bounce back?
It was tough for sure. Like, there's a point in the middle of the season. I was like, I'm just gonna go. Like, I'm gonna quit and play football. I was like, it'll just be easier. And so like it was tough for sure because like the guy I'm getting whooped by, I love the guy. He's a great guy, but he was like really struggling that year. And it's like he's losing these guys that like have losing records, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm getting teched by this guy.
Right.
I was like, so like where do I lie in here? Like, would I win a match?
Mhm.
And like I would have some success in like the opens and stuff like that, but I would see him like lose the guys that like I thought I was way better than, but I'm getting whooped by him, and it's just like this constant battle, like watching my teammate not succeed while he was beating the crap out of me. And once kind of like when the new coaching staff came in, because like I got recruited by a different coaching staff than Bono and
Yeah.
Reader and those guys, so like they came in my going into my redshirt freshman year. and like they came in and they're like said like you're gonna have to get your stuff together, like figure it out, like you're like this guy, like we need you, like you're gonna have to figure it out, and like they're like you are like an incredible wrestler, like just show it, like have confidence in yourself. 'Cause I lost all my confidence, and them like kind of getting on me and like getting back to how I used to wrestle. Because when I came in, I kind of like turned like into more of a traditional heavyweight. Like I'd win every match 2-1, 3-2. I'd go triple
Yep.
overtime. Every single match was really close. And they're like, you need to go back to like being you, like figure out, like find your identity again. And I spent like a few months like getting back to like shooting a bunch, like and trying to score a lot of points and trying to like pin people. And like I think that helped a lot, like having them like on me, like find yourself again type of thing.
So you kind of went from being like very passive to just going out there not wanting to lose
Yeah.
versus changing your attitude, going out there and wanting to win and wanting to dominate.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing.
What's weird, wrestling is weird because there are certain guys that like you could struggle against and they could still not be great wrestlers. Like you said, the guy that is in the room teching you every day that and he's losing to guys that have losing records. That can happen. It's just such a weird feeling. It's an odd sport that I think if you talk to people that haven't wrestled, they don't get it. It's a very the mental side of it's very tough too. It's probably I think the most difficult sport there is out there.
Yeah, mentally it's just like it just beats you up. Like matchups are everything. And like you could see one guy have a super close match, but then he like beats up a guy that other guy lost to. And it's like
Yep.
one of these like it's just matchups mean everything. And like mentally, like if you're not 100% there mentally, you're gonna lose to basically anybody in the country at
Yep.
Division 1 level for sure. And like because everyone is like you have to be locked in for everything. You have to be physically, mentally, like just locked in the entire season. And so like it and like especially this year, like I had a couple like bad losses beginning of the year, and like I started like mentally like go off the wall type of thing. And it's like I'd like reel myself back in, and I finally figured out NCAA is like reeled myself back in. And so like it's insane. It's one of the toughest things I've ever gone through.
So in the country, for away matches, where is the most difficult place for you to wrestle? Is it a Big Ten school? Is it there an out of conference school that you guys have been to maybe once that was just absolutely brutal, like the fan base, the energy, just something like that?
It was Carver Hawkeye for sure, Iowa.
It was
Like
yeah,
like yeah, no, like that one's like I didn't believe in the myth. Like I've always been a big guy, like I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like it's
right.
just you and him out there. But like it is energy sapping. It is like I can't even explain it. Like you like step foot out there and you're exhausted like a minute in. Cause like the entire time, especially me being like the last match, and we were getting whooped that day too.
Yeah.
And so I'm being the last match, I'm sitting here warming up or like sitting on the bench, and like they're on me the entire time. Like it was the one Spencer Lee was up wrestling at 125, and like there's like guys in the back like cussing at me, telling me like all these other things. Like so it was like 2 hours of me just getting harassed. And I'm like, and then I have to go on the match and wrestle Cassiope.
Yeah.
So like it's like just constant, like it's just having to like block all of that out for 2 hours is
Mhm.
just like so energy sapping. And like literally anything you do, you're getting booed. Like and they like it doesn't matter what you're doing. Anything they do, like it's like you step foot on the mats, they're yelling stalling. And it's like it's one of those it's like just so energy, it's so loud, so energy sapping. You like can't hear your coaches like at all. It's just
Yeah.
like it's just like you just constantly hear like people just on you. And like I said, I didn't believe in it for a long time. I was like, everyone's like they got carvered, and it's like whatever, I don't believe in that. And then like you wrestle and you're like, holy crap. Like, I was like, there was a break that happened like a minute in, I'm like over the corner, like hands on my knees, like dying. I'm like, I
Right.
know I'm I'm in better shape than this. And so that one's like by far the hardest I've been to. Like other good ones like that I didn't expect were like Utah Valley. We went
Really?
there when I wrestled Orendorff. That was like a really good environment. It's like really small, but like it was like packed to
Packed
the
in.
brim,
Yep.
and like it was just everyone was on you. That was a really good environment. Like it wasn't difficult to wrestle in, but it's just like a sweet environment. It was like cool to be a part of.
Hmm. That's now. Where would you rank like Wisconsin? Are they a top three fan base? You think?
Oh yeah.
Because like Iowa, obviously that's probably the one I would have guessed
Mhm.
as being like the most difficult. So would you say there that coming into Madison is probably very difficult for opponents?
I think coming into Madison's really difficult. We have our fan base is also like on you guys, especially we have like these mat side seats too. So like we have 100 people on this edge of the mat that are like directly next to the like opponent's bench, and so they're like on them the entire time. Like it's another thing, if they step foot on the mat, they're getting yelled at for stalling, and like it's just like constant like yelling the entire time. And so I think it's a really like fun place for obviously for me to wrestle in, but
Yeah.
like I would think it's pretty difficult for other people to wrestle in.
Now, if you had like one of those big wins, like a signature win in Madison that like got the crowd going, was it maybe not versus like a high level guy, but it's to like win the match, or versus a high level guy? Was there one of those matches?
So it was my redshirt freshman year against Orendorff from Utah Valley. He's at Ohio State now, and we were winning the duel 19-17. So whoever won the match won the entire duel.
Yeah.
And I think our team was undefeated at the time. I was undefeated at the time. I think Orendorff was undefeated. He was like ranked like 10th. I was 15th or something like that. And he threw me to my back like a minute into the match. So I'm down 6-0, and like I work my way back and get into overtime, and I take him down in overtime to win the match. And that's when I do like my Thor like celebration, like throw it out, like, and so like I come back, I score like basically like 9 unanswered points or something like that to come back and win. And that's like that was like my signature win. That kind of like made the Thor name like explode.
That's awesome.
And like that was kind of like the most, for me, most memorable match. It's kind of like what got like me as like almost like a fan favorite for like Madison. And so that was like by far like the biggest match for me. I've had other like cool like fun matches, like I mean I lost to Paris at home, but that was like a really high paced fun match. Like I think the score was like 3-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like we scrambled for probably 4 of the 7 minutes. And so like that was like a fun match, like fun good match. So but yeah, Orendorff for sure.
Well, what's your the guy that produces this, my buddy Brett, we're both huge college wrestling fans. The scramble or the scramble rule where it's you're hanging on the leg. What are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of that when the swipes come in, it doesn't seem like a guy's just hanging on for dear life. Guys are trying to bring themselves back in. Do you think that maybe hurt wrestling? I don't know if it's big at the heavyweight level as much as it is at lower weights, but where do you kind of stand on a rule like that?
I mean, we've gotten into more with heavyweights, especially with like us being more athletic now. So like, there's more scrambling going on. I wouldn't say it hurts wrestling. I feel like it was needed because
Okay.
like you have like guys like a Megaludus and like an Askren, like they would like lay on their back or they'd lay on someone's ankle if they got in bad position, and so like that's like stalling in my opinion. Like if you're laying on your back or laying in his ankle, like you're stalling to get out of like to get a stalemate here, and so like I agree that like there should be some sort of punishment for you doing that, but it's just all it's so situational too. Like that's the issue with wrestling. Like if you're like stuck on a leg and you can't get up, like you're getting screwed over because like you can't control it and you're getting hit for stalling. And like even that's like the danger rule. Like sometimes like you're just rolling through and both of you guys are on the back. It's up to the ref to decide who gets a danger call.
Yep.
So it's like it's all situational, which is I mean it's unfortunate, but that's just a sport. Like you can't control that. But I don't think it hurts wrestling. I think it was needed for like a guys like Megaludis and Askren, the guys that like, created scrambling and like made it big. They spent a lot of time like rolling around on their back, which I don't know like if they'd be as successful now because the danger rule is here. And like or they'll jump down to an ankle and start a scramble like through that. And that would be a count now that only have 5 seconds to get back up above the ankle. And a lot of those would take 45 seconds. And that's how to get a lot of their riding times and stuff like that. So I think it was needed, but like I said, it's all situational. So it's just a sport. You have to get used to it.
Now, so you took 6th at nationals this year. You wrestled Gremle for 5th, 6th, correct?
Yeah.
What happened in that match? Because like I mean, Gremle's a tough opponent. You ended up losing the match. Just overall mindset going into the match, and then mindset after, and just kind of what went wrong in you losing.
I mean, not a lot of people knew this, but I was basically wrestling at like 30%. Like I had like a broken and torn ankle the whole season, and I tore my pec at my first match NCAA's.
Oh.
And then I had an AC separation after like during my Nebraska match. So I was like I was extremely drugged
worn
up.
down, beaten up.
Yeah, I was worn down. And like the only reason that I think I was so successful is because like I was taking like a bunch of painkillers during NCAA, so I literally just couldn't feel anything. And like the last day I didn't take any because it was just like destroying my body. And so I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna like just kind of like scoot on through. But like going into the match, I was like, I know I can beat this guy. I beat him before,
Yep.
and it was just like I have to like hopefully like my body just wasn't like reacting like how it used to, and like it was just like moving in slow motion basically the entire season. And so it was kind of like I just had to like get back to like hopefully get back to like my speed up because like I knew I was faster than him. I knew I could ride him, and
Mhm.
it was just I took like a bad shot at the beginning of the match, like trying to cause action, and he took me down, and like I couldn't get out, and just the size difference, and I was really small at NCAAs. I was 220 at NCAAs, and I'm usually like 250. So
Oh, oh, yeah.
yeah, no, it was just like it was a rough year, honestly. But I mean, he out wrestled me the whole weekend. I'm not gonna take anything away from him. Even though, like I was wrestling the quarterfinals as well, and he beat me in overtime or like double overtime there too. So he just out wrestled me, and I give him props. I just didn't have a good game plan for my scenario, and I just I just didn't come up on top.
So the plan is you're coming back for at least one more year.
Mhm.
Do you have anything in mind that you want to get into following your college wrestling career? Is it go to Olympic ranks, MMA, coaching? What do you think is in the cards for you? I know you still got time, but
So I got 2 more years, and like that 6th year, obviously I'd love to wrestle for Wisconsin again. My scholarship's going to be up, so I don't know like how I'd have to talk to the coaches and like see how like that goes. But like playing football after college is definitely like a big thing. Like either like try to make the NFL like a coon or like the
yep,
Canadian Football League or something like that. And I've already talked to like some WWE like scouts,
really,
and so like they've already like offered me like to go like to their training camp and like when I'm done with college and stuff like that. So MMA is definitely in the cards too. Right now, like coaching, like when I'm done doing like all athletics, is like I'd for sure want to do coaching.
Mm.
That's like I'd love to get into coaching like after whatever I do, football, WWE, MMA, whatever I do, RTC, like Olympic level stuff. But coaching is like definitely like my end goal once I'm like retired from athletics.
Now have you been a WWE fan growing up, or is this going to be kind of a new stage for you?
A definitely new stage. I don't think I watched any WWE growing up.
Okay,
Like ever since I've like gotten into college, like I've had a few like talent like devs call me and like contact me, be like, hey, like is this something you consider? I'm like, I mean, yeah, I'd consider it. Like
right.
I don't know how like serious it's gonna be. Like it's something I try, but I mean, I'd want to see how it'd work, you know. So I mean, we'll see. Like I didn't watch it a whole lot, but it's like something new, exciting, and if I do enjoy it, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, that would be. Now, are you worried at all if you were doing it about like the acting aspect of it? Physically, you'd probably be fine, but is the acting anything that you would maybe be a little nervous about talking to the crowds, kind of trying to stay on script, stuff like that?
Talking to crowds don't really bother me. Not like a huge showman, so that's something that have to be
Yeah.
different. Like obviously like a Gable, like a Ferrari, like they do all this like stuff like during and after the matches, and
Yeah.
like so like they're like those are showmen. I'm not like a huge showman, but like I don't get nervous talking in front of people. I don't get nervous like in front of big crowds. But like that would be the thing I'm like the most worried about in the whole thing. Just like being able to put on a show because that's like not who I am naturally. So to have to like be out of my element all the time to put on a
Mhm.
show.
Gotcha. Now, one thing we always ask on the show, with any athlete coach, you've got time for 3 songs before a match. You got your headphones in. What are the 3 songs you've got playing through your headphones?
Oh, probably X gonna give it to you from DMX.
Hey, that's a good one. Yep.
That just gets me going no matter how many times I listen to it. Whew, God, just so many songs. I A Millie from Lil Wayne, or yeah, Lil Wayne.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was my walkout song last year.
That's
And
sweet.
then and then probably All the Lights from Kanye. That was a my football walkout song my freshman year. I loved it. I just like kind of listen. I did just part of all my warm up playlists. So that was probably my three. And like DMX is just I go hard to DMX every time it comes on. So
DMX is the ultimate. It's like 4 or 5 songs, but they just make every pump up gym playlist that you need. Like that's
Yeah.
DMX is everything on those playlists. It's awesome.
Oh, for sure.
Now, also as a wrestler, like you said, you were a lighter heavyweight, but you probably were eating clean during the season. After the season, what's your splurge meal? Like, what do you go to, whether it's something back home or something on campus?
Uh, so there's like this Topper's Pizza place that's around. It's like really like unique specialty pizzas, and that's probably like my splurge meal. I don't like really splurge a whole lot. Like
Mhm.
maybe like in the off season, I'll have, like one cheat meal a week type of thing. But
Gotcha.
I'm also a huge ice cream guy. So like if you give me a gallon of ice cream, I'll eat all of it. So like that's that's my weakness for sure. But as like a meal, it'd be Toppers. Like they have these like Topper cheesy breadsticks too that you have
Okay.
to die for. So like that's my go-to.
That's been like the common theme with the handful of wrestlers we've had on. Whenever that question comes up, it's like either the dinner, like the actual food part of it's always it varies, but they always end it. They're like ice cream. That's my big one. I love ice cream. Like the same thing. You could give me a gallon, give me a pint of Ben and Jerry's, and I'm just gonna house that right
Yeah.
then and there.
Yeah, that's my weakness for sure.
Do you have like a specific Ben and Jerry's or like a gallon like that you would just put down like real quick, like a certain flavor?
I mean, Moose Tracks is my favorite, like the OG, like
Okay.
Moose Tracks. So, but I mean, anything, literally anything, I can down some ice cream. It doesn't matter. It could just be plain vanilla, and I'll down it.
Now, before I let you go, I appreciate you coming on. What would be the price to cut the hair? Like, what would be the number, the monetary number for you to cut the hair? Would it be 1,000,000?
Oh no, I've
No?
actually considered cutting it a few times. It gets real hot in the summer, and I'm sure you have long
Yeah.
hair too. So it's like it
Yeah.
gets it gets hot in the summer for sure. So I think it was 2 summers ago. I was like, so my dad cuts my hair,
Okay.
and I was like, I want it off. Like I was just like, this. It was like a really hot summer that I wanted off, and he was like, all right, I'll be out there in 2 weeks. And like when he got out there, he had everything. I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. Like
Yeah.
whatever. And so I mean, I would probably it'd be over, definitely over, well over $100. Yeah, but it'd be like it'd probably closer to like 1,000 to cut it off
Okay.
because I mean it'll grow back. But I don't know. I've considered it a few times. Just like now it's a persona type of thing too. Like
Right. Right.
so
You're Thor
like
now.
that.
So it's going to be tough to have Thor without the locks.
Yeah, so like it's like that makes it. It's like almost like it's like my brand now. So especially the NIL stuff. So it'd be probably a little bit more expensive now because it can make me more money.
Yeah, this is my first real summer with long hair. I used to be buzz cut,
Mhm.
and it's brutal. The heat with the long hair is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
I'm like so close to cutting it, but I think I'm gonna try to hold on to it. So I feel your pain. It's not a fun time when it's hitting 90 and humid.
Oh yeah, no, then it gets all frizzy. It's bad. Yeah, no, I have to do a bunch of stuff to make sure it doesn't go too crazy.
Trent, I appreciate you coming on, man. This was awesome. Hopefully, get you on down the line, maybe before the season starts. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and good luck with the whole NIL bill and getting your merch ready.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the My Parents Office podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes we're going to be bringing to you guys. Thank you.